So, horror. It is a genre that challenges our minds with visuals and imagery that is meant to frighten, shock, and even repulse. There is always an ever-looming feeling of dread in the audience whenever witnessing horror. And when the tension of it finally snaps, in the example of a jump scare, or even a scary note playing in the frightening moment, the audience shows a great release of emotion, a sort of fight or flight effect, as all those endorphins rush through our body. This is one of the main reasons that I, an avid horror enthusiast, as you can see here, really love the genre for what it is, as it glues me to my seats before it absolutely throws me out of my chair with a scream loud enough to shatter glass. The build-up of emotion, followed by the rush of relief, is unmatched to anything there is in the world. Except maybe hard drugs. This is why when making this video on a play review, I really wanted it to be within the horror genre, and while scrolling across YouTube, the mighty algorithm gave me just what I was looking for. This is a play called Imaginary, produced by Corin Gahan. I hope I'm saying that right. Although the play is relatively short, only clocking it at 30 minutes, I believe that the story as well as the imagery used paints a bigger meaning to the play. So, without further ado, this is Imaginary. Before I give my honest review of the play and give critique, I would like to give a brief summary of the story as to provide more context, or to explain to those who are too lazy to watch the play. It starts off with our main character Sarah and whoa, what the hell is happening here? Totally not a severe foreshadowing of what's to come at all. We are introduced to Sarah and her father. Whew, look at that stud! Moving into a new house, and we see the bond between a parent and their daughter, as well as the personality that Sarah has. The audience is made very aware that Sarah's dad is a busy man who goes to work very often. As the dad leaves for the grocery store, Sarah and her dad manage to fix an old radio, which suddenly starts to play some chipper, happy joy tune. However, behind the curtains, something malicious is brewing. As Sarah comes across a ball, she throws it into the curtain, which means something throws the ball back to her. Understandably so, Sarah is scared and stops for the time being. Flash forward to nighttime, Sarah and her father are having takeout, and we see more of the relationship between the two family members. As they finish their food, they get ready for a good old nappy time. As she gets ready for bed, boom! A figure comes out of the mirror and frightens the daylights out of Sarah. But wait, she does not seem that scared that a random person appeared out of nowhere and into her life, but oh, it's revealed that this had occurred before in Sarah's life. Fast forward a little bit, and Sarah confronts her father about her new friend. However, the father is stunned with her shenanigans, as it happened multiple times before, leading them to move many times prior to the new house. Understandably so, her father thinks she's nuts and he storms off to work. Sarah gets mad at her imaginary friend, and the friend just leaves through the curtains? Fast forward to night yet again, and the father returned home from a long hard day of work. Sarah's imaginary friend decided to pull an epic prank and mess with the dad, as weird, spooky stuff happens around him, like a music box playing. To make amends with Sarah, her dad gives her the music box and they hug it out and love each other again. Except they don't! Because the watch that her dad was looking for was actually in Sarah's room, and it's broken! Her father gets extremely frustrated and yells at her, grounding her and punishing her for her supposed lies. Sarah is livid and shuns her imaginary friend, as her presence just made everything worse. In the late of night, Sarah is sleeping when suddenly the sound of a ball steadily bouncing gets closer and closer to her. It's the imaginary friend, and she's not playing nice anymore. Sarah gets dragged into the curtains as she screams for her father, begging to be saved. The dad jumps and searches for Sarah, only to peek into the curtains and be dragged into the curtains again. But wait, that's not the imaginary friend's arms. Yes, in a totally unexpected plot twist, Sarah comes out of the curtains drenched in blood, calling out for her father, not knowing that she had murdered him in cold blood. In the final scenes, Sarah puts on a restraining jacket, and the audience is exposed to the shattered sanity of her mind as she is dragged away into the curtains by authority figures. So, let's piece this together, shall we? So the play is focused on a girl with mental illness and how she chooses to cope with it, with the usage of an imaginary friend to personify all of her darkest, most vile thoughts imaginable. We see that the imaginary friend is a sort of separate identity to Sarah's innocent, playful demeanor, and Sarah's dad does not understand why she acts the way she does, because clearly the imaginary friend does not exist, and it is under her own actions that she chose to do these things. In the end, the audience is shown clearly that the imaginary friend never truly existed, and it was all in Sarah's mind, and she unknowingly killed her own father, which signifies her insanity. Dad? With the ending scene, it relates back to the foreshadowing in the opening of the play, and it comes together in an amazing loop of events, explaining a tragic story between a father and his daughter. Now, before I give my criticism on the play, allow me to say a few good things about the play. The acting is incredibly top-notch, as the characters are portrayed very well, even with the very difficult lines to work with, which I will touch on later. The lighting and the setting of the play does give off creepy, eerie horror vibes that can rival high-budget horror films. And finally, the reusage of a chipper, happy tune in the start is a great illusion that drives the point back home that Sarah has gone insane. And now, the criticism. And boy, do I have a lot to say about the play. Firstly, I do want to point out that the budget for this film was pretty low, as mentioned by director Corinne Gahan. With that said, I do not like how the play shows to the audience that a change in the room is via a usage of boxes that they put down at the start of the film, and it's difficult to navigate the house as a whole. On the topic of the house, it is never explained what is the significance of the curtain in the house, nor how it even possibly makes sense that a curtain is conveniently placed in Sarah's bedroom. It makes absolutely zero sense how characters such as the imaginary friend can just enter through the curtain without needing any explanation. Was the curtain there before they moved into the house? Why can Sarah only enter the curtain at the end of the play? Furthermore, I would like to talk about Sarah's dad, and oh boy, there is a lot to talk about this character. In this one scene, the father somehow gives eye contact to Sarah, even though there's a ginormous wall blocking their vision. On another note, the emotional outburst of the dad is reasonable, as we see him holding back his emotions in this one scene here. However, I feel it is completely out of character for the father to display such a sudden catharsis of anger towards Sarah, even when 5 seconds ago they were making amends. In conclusion, I believe that Imaginary by Corin Gahan is a very mediocre play. Like a 6 out of 10. Yes, I do acknowledge that the play is very creative in how they deal with such a trash budget and tight space and still make it an enjoyable watch. But I also must acknowledge that there comes with a lot of flaws with the script writing and overall directing of the play. I think that the director should have been given more time as to flesh out the story and build more of a dynamic between Sarah and her father, as the story turned out feeling half-baked and leaves the audience wanting to feel frightened. But instead they are met with surface-level psychological horror and barely marks anything to be creepy or scary. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you like it, and I hope that anything in the future you will be more tuned in. Thank you.